This episode of the Golf Unfiltered podcast is brought to you by WorldwideGolfShops.com. Be sure to go out to WorldwideGolfShops.com for all of your equipment, apparel, and accessory needs. They've even got training aids. They've got all the great stuff from all the brands that you hear on our podcast every week. So once again, that is WorldwideGolfShops.com.
You're listening to the Golf Unfiltered podcast, your source for in-depth interviews with the biggest names, brands, and personalities in golf. Our mission? To keep you informed and help you enjoy the game even more. And now, the owner and host of the Golf Unfiltered podcast, Adam Fonseca.
Welcome back, folks, to the Golf Unfiltered podcast. You know who this is. This is Adam from GolfUnfiltered.com. You can reach us all over social media at Golf Unfiltered, and you can send me an email, adam@golfunfiltered.com. Hello to our friends over at thehackersparadise.com. Listen to this either on their fantastic member forums or on the THP mobile app. And of course, hello to our good friends over at Cleveland, Srixon, and Zegzio. I certainly hope everyone's doing okay out there, folks. I know things are calming down in a lot of ways and just boosting back up in other ways, depending on which news source you follow. And today, folks, we're going to talk all about golf. We're not going to get into any of the world events that have been going on as we have the last couple of weeks. We're going to talk about three things today that I'm excited about, and I know that you are too. The first, of course, being the restart to the PGA Tour. There's a lot of stuff to talk about there, and I know that we don't touch on professional golf too much here on the show anymore, but I think it was appropriate to do so today with the restart after a whole bunch of weeks. We get to see professional golf again en masse. And then, of course, I'm going to touch on a couple things regarding my personal experiences playing golf as we all kind of continue to get used to the new normal, if that's even a phrase that's appropriate here, where I'm going to talk about my thoughts between, once again, walking and riding. Now, I know that that sounds like an old, tired argument, but I've really had the chance to kind of reconnect with the way that I played golf growing up, and comparing that to the way that I now, or at least most recently, played golf as an adult. And then just a few thoughts regarding my current club setup, as well as what I've learned from my playing partners and on the THP forums on your opinions versus blades, cavity backs, combo sets, and a little bit more. So that's what's on the agenda for today, folks. I'm sure I'll probably go off in a few different areas as well, as I tend to do. We will be right back after a short break from one of our sponsors, but before we do, I want you to all remember there are 2 additional podcasts on the THP Podcast Network, including Range Days, where you can go and get in-depth reviews and information on new golf clubs, golf equipment, and of course, our friends Dan and Rob over at Off Course. Be sure to listen to both of those. You can find those on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, everywhere you find podcasts. Hang tight, folks. We'll be right back. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. No big hype, no big price, but definitely a big deal. Take advantage of their factory direct model where you cut out the middleman and get the best products shipped to your door direct from the company. They've got a demo program to try out their products before you buy, a trade-up program to get these clubs in your hands even quicker, and special financing where you can split your payment into 4 to make these clubs even more affordable. Go to benhogangolf.com to learn more. All right, folks, welcome back. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we wanted to talk about 3 topics today, the first of which is the return of the PGA Tour. No fans, but we've got professional golf for the first time in a full field in a long time. Of course, with the Charles Schwab Challenge over at Colonial Golf Course, a lot of people tuning in. I saw a stat earlier this morning when I woke up. I believe round 1 was watched by just an obscene amount of people. It was the most viewers from something other than a major championship in a very long time, and that's encouraging to hear. You know, obviously we saw a ton of viewership over at Driving Relief, the TaylorMade event that we had a few weeks ago over at Seminole, and then of course the match 2, Tiger, Phil, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, that received just the most ridiculous ratings, I believe, more than Super Bowls. I'm going off the top of my head here, folks, but it was good to see the return to the PGA Tour, and there's just so many interesting storylines already. I know that, personally speaking, I don't watch a lot of professional golf anymore. I really don't. I mean, certainly the majors, when they come up, I will more than likely watch every round then. And, everyday PGA Tour events, I just don't find myself watching them as much. I'd much rather go out and play golf. Maybe catch the final round if it's been a long week and I just want to sit on the couch on a Sunday. But this was something different. I had the chance to kind of tune in a few times, obviously working from home, as many of us are. I had the chance to tune in, see a couple swings. Let's just get this out of the way right from the start here, folks. Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, this guy, we all knew it. We all knew what he was doing over the extended break here because of COVID. He was beefing up. He was lifting weights. He was looking strong. He was feeling strong. He was posting videos on social media of him with obscene ball speeds and swing speeds, just swinging out of his shoes. And then he arrives at Colonial, and he looks like he ate a panda. I mean, I'm sorry, he looks fat. He definitely does. I mean, I know he's strong. I know he's I think one of the bombs that he hit was, 320 carry. It was ridiculous. And Colonial, it doesn't have the biggest, widest fairways in the world. And so this guy is just deadly accurate, hasn't lost any of that. And he's just swinging like Rocky Balboa out there. I don't know. Does Rocky golf? I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen those movies. But you know what? Hey, I got to hand it to him. As much as heat as he's caught on social media, and let me tell you, some of the pictures that I've seen and Photoshops and all that and comments, I mean, he had to know it was coming, and I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure it's all just background noise to him. But he put together on his frame just a massive amount of weight. I think I read a tweet that said he was drinking 5 to 6 protein shakes a day to keep his weight up. I don't understand it. I really don't. Clearly it's working, I think. I mean, if his goal was to do whatever he's doing, I mean, at the time of this recording, it's a Saturday of the week. He's in second place, so he's playing well. Good for him, whatever. Good for him. Another person that's playing well this week, which is really good to see, is Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth is back. At least it looks like he's back. He had 2 consecutive rounds of 65, I believe, playing extremely well. He's tied right there with Beefy Bryson in second place behind Harold Varner III, who's also playing very, very strong golf. And it's just great to see these guys get back out there. It really is. I mean, I know that we've talked a lot about, on this podcast at least, about our own personal experiences getting back to play golf, just feeling happy that we can go out and play, whether it be in twosomes, foursomes, extended tee times, whatever. And these guys are playing for a living, of course, and it doesn't look like there's not too much rust out there among these guys. So that's encouraging to see, and I think it's just great that sports are back, at least in a limited capacity. I still miss the other ones, I gotta say, But seeing golf come back at Colonial, a historic golf course, that's just a really, really fun thing to see. And, an interesting side note, by the way, prior to everything getting locked down, I believe it was in, the beginning of March, a couple buddies of mine and I had met up at a local brewery. And Pollyanna Brewing Company. Shout out to you guys. You guys know I love you. We were over there, and we were just kind of, it was after work. I think I was off that day for whatever reason. I met these 2 guys out, and we just started talking. And then one of my friends, Joey, spoke up, and he said, "Hey, my wife, she got me this great gift. She understands that I needed to go out and, play golf. I hadn't played golf in many months, or, however he put it. And she actually bought him plane tickets to Texas and said, you know what, just go and play as much golf as you can. Wherever you want to go, we'll cover it, whatever." Just a really cool gift, And he's a member at a club out here, and he was able to reach out and, long story short, somehow got lined up where we could play Colonial. That's crazy. And so that day in the brewery, we all kind of made the decision, you know what? Yeah, we're going to book plane tickets to join you, and we're going to go play this golf course. I think the plan was to go play as much as we could, however many holes we could. And yeah, we were all signed up. Now, a couple days later, I realized that I had a conflict at work, and I was really upset that I couldn't go, so I had to actually cancel. But then, of course, we know how the rest of the story goes. Everything got locked down, so can't help but think about my friend Joe. Man, that sucks. I just gotta say, not being able to go and play Colonial, and I hope that at least for his sake, there's some opportunity later on to go and I hope those plane tickets were transferable. I have no idea. I'm sure that they were. Nobody knew what was going on at that point, but the tour is back. People are paying attention to where Tiger Woods' yacht is. There are people who were talking about how it was going up the coast, potentially because he was in the field at the RBC Heritage coming up. He's not, as it turns out. I saw a funny tweet from past podcast guest Chris Cheney saying, imagine having so much money that you can just send your yacht out for shits and giggles. I think Tiger enjoys doing this stuff. I don't know what he's doing. Nobody knows what he's doing. And it's really none of our business what he's doing. But apparently he's not playing in the RBC in a couple weeks or a week from now. But man, it's good to see these guys back out there. It's good to see Jordan Spieth playing well again. He's got, he's always got that putter. He just lives and dies by his putting stroke. There were a couple things out there. I think in his opening round, I think he had 2 4-putts, and he still shot 65. I mean, that man is a roller coaster of a golfer, and it's just love to see him get back in just the form that he was, or even anywhere close to it. He's clearly been surpassed by the old tired narrative of his best friend growing up, Justin Thomas, who's clearly, at least right now, a much better player. And it was sad to see. I think, with Jordan, obviously his breakdown at that Masters, I don't think he ever really rebounded from that. There's certainly a mental thing going on there, or at least there was. And now it's great to see that, there's been this reboot. He can come back out. He looks loose. He looks like he's having just a good time playing in his home state. All those things. He's able to kind of shake off that rust, so to speak. So, welcome back, PGA Tour. I'll be tuning in as much as I can. I think everyone on Twitter, it's good to see golf Twitter back in full force. People are already complaining about coverage. People are complaining about PGA Tour Live. It's like, it's just the way things were. It's the way the golf gods intended it. Speaking of golf gods, I know that you all like to hear a little bit more about, just our experiences here playing golf. Walking and riding, the second topic we wanted to get to today. We've talked about this a few times. In my previous episode, I talked about 3 things that golf probably should remember or, take heed golf from COVID. And one of those things included, of course, pace of play. You need to keep things moving. And then single rider carts was another. Playing golf today, a little bit later, with 3 buddies of mine. And we're all going to have single carts again. We're here in Illinois. We're still at that stage in our reopening process. I believe they call it phase 3. And it's going to be fine. It's going to be a nice little, cavalry of golfers riding through each fairway, hopefully. But had the opportunity as well to kind of mix in a lot of, either 9-hole rounds, or I've only walked a couple full 18 rounds during this whole break, I guess you could call it. And, I am still torn on which I prefer. Leading up to this year, I think I could speak for many of us listening to this. We would always ride for the most part. I know there's a few of you who are those go-getters, those fitness golfers who want to walk all the time, because it is a really good form of exercise. It really is. I know people joke about that, but you burn a lot of calories. At least I do. and when you walk. And, you know, what I really appreciate, because we just walked 9 holes 2 days ago at our local club here, and you know, it's just nice to get out and reconnect with the way that at least I grew up playing the game. I think most of us did too. I've said this a couple times on the podcast. I think, you know, if anything, from a golf perspective, what this time has taught me is to not take anything for granted. You know, I know in retrospect, thinking back about all the rounds that I would get upset about and, you know, just throw my clubs back into my cart or my bag on my cart and then just drive to the next ball, probably ignoring the person I'm sitting next to and just fuming about it and not really having a lot of fun on the course. And then it gets taken away from you, at least briefly. You come back, you're just so happy to be out there. I would have walked with 4 clubs. I don't care if that was for whatever reason the restriction that we needed in order to play golf again. Fine, give me a shovel. I mean, I'll go out and I'll play golf with that. And it was just good to reconnect. And so, you know, I was talking to another buddy, and we were just talking about the differences between riding and walking and how we should continue to mix in a few walking rounds, which I think I'll do. It's a different experience. It really is. I know that sounds silly, but for those of you who are, you know, walkers by preference, who prefer to do that more often, I think you'll agree. I mean, I actually think it's faster, believe it or not. And I know a lot of people have said that, you know, single rider cart, well, I've said it. I mean, single rider carts allows you to have a similar experience to walking because you're kind of just in your own world if you want to be. And you don't have to worry about going to your other player's ball and all that. But walking alone, you know, that it's obvious. That's the way that the game was intended, I think. It really was. Now, a lot of courses, at least in my area, many of the courses are not, you know, they weren't designed specifically with walkers in mind. I mean, even my home course, there's some real estate between one green to the next tee box on a few areas of the course, and that can be difficult. That adds just additional steps that maybe you don't want to take, especially when you're out of shape like me. You want to take as few steps as possible. But riding with a partner, while it's certainly a fun social element to the game, I know when my wife and I go and play, I mean, which she's been walking with me, which is great to see. You know, you guys know if you've listened for a long time, she's got some trouble walking every so often, and it's been great to see her out there, you know, pushing a push cart, getting out there, getting some exercise, having fun, playing really damn well too. Actually, I was, I think the last time we played, she was the only birdie in the group. Getting my butt whooped by my spouse. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. But you know, even when you're riding with somebody, I think it's a little bit more than just focusing on the game. You know, if you want to go out and you want to actually improve your game, I'm going to say that walking is probably the best thing you can do because you're so zoned in on what you have to do. And you have that time walking from your last shot to your next, thinking about what you're going to do next. You know, that's just the way that the game was intended to be played. I know how corny that sounds, but it really came up and continues to, you know, at least remind me of that fact every time that I do it. So I do think this was like a reboot, like I said earlier, of some sort for many of us. I know it has been for me. Being able to just kind of reset your expectations, reset what you take for granted, I guess, to kind of have a clean slate. And I know that at least, look, I get it, guys. I get it. I've been fortunate enough to not experience many of the downsides, the extremely negative things that have been occurring these last few months. And I'm very fortunate for that, and I am very thankful for that. And I have sympathy and, of course, all those things for those that that haven't been able to say the same. And I do know that golf, whatever activity, whether it be golf or something else, is an escape from those things. Maybe even listening to this show, listening to me babble on, could be an escape for you. But I do think that as a whole, at least as it relates to this game, it was important to kind of have that reboot. Here in Illinois, we have it every year for the most part. I mean, we only get to play golf really. I mean, to be fair, you can golf every month in Illinois. A lot of people do. You have to kind of brave some snow every so often. I mean, there's the Eskimo Open that takes place every year at Cog Hill. But we have a break. And I know other areas of the country, we all say, wow, we would love to be able to play every single day, all year long. And I'd be lying if I didn't include myself in that group. But having the chance to kind of stop, look back, reset your expectations, it's really important. And I think it's just another illustration of how this game that we play and we talk about and we complain about, it really is kind of a commentary just on life. You know, wow, that got deep. Why did I go down that path? But, you know, one of the other things, you know, in a haphazard segue here, I've also kind of had to reimagine and think again about what it means to enjoy the game with the tools that I use. Now, I know I've talked about this topic a few times in past shows. And, you know, whatever people choose to play and put in their golf bag, whether it be 14 clubs, whether it be less than that, hell, whether it be more than that, I think the end goal is that we just want to have fun. I think that's what it is. You know, I know many of us, a good portion of you, I shouldn't include myself in that, a good portion of you listening to this probably play competitively. Whether it be, you know, on the weekend with friends or actual tournaments. And when you look at how golf equipment, golf accessories, golf products are marketed, they try to place you into certain buckets. And that's really difficult to do. And I'm just constantly reminded of this because one of the buckets that, you know, we're led to believe, and hell, we've done it on the show. I mean, I'll be honest here, is only certain player types can play certain pieces of equipment, especially when it comes to your irons, for example. Now, I know this horse has been beaten dead a long time, but, you know, I'll say again, when I like the look of a blade. I really do. I think a lot of people either on the THP forum or listening to the show, you've reached out to me, you said, yeah, I do too. I don't like the look of this big, chunky piece of metal you know, behind my ball. And so something I like to do every year, especially this year, is to go and just experiment a little bit more. You know, I've got cavity backs, I've got blades. Go ahead and I play them each for a short stretch just to kind of compare scores. And I got to tell you, first of all, there's really no significant difference between the two for me, at least in score. And frankly, something that continues to surprise me, and I don't know if it's a mental thing or what, but I shoot my best scores when I'm using blades. And I don't know why that is. I know that everything in marketing is supposed to tell me that I will, quote unquote, score better with more forgiving clubs. And yeah, trust me, I catch a lot of flack for that. I mean, why you're a 6, why are you playing that? You know, you could probably be so much better if you play something with more technology behind it. There's no technology in those clubs that you're using right now. I hear all of it, you know, and it's not wrong. But when I look at results, and I encourage you all to do this too, what argument do I have? You know? And so I just continue to go back to something I've said before. Whatever you want to play, go and play it, as long as it doesn't come at a detriment to you enjoying the game that you want to enjoy. You know, if it doesn't make any sense to you to play a certain club type, you know, don't listen to what the marketing says. I mean, you're going to go and get fit, hopefully. You're going to get a recommendation from your fitter, and then you're going to have that moment where you have to either make the purchase or not. And hell, you could even have that situation in front of you if you don't get fit. If you just walk into a store, remember we used to be able to do that? And then say, hey, do I want to buy these clubs off the rack or not? So, I keep going back to the benefits of mixing both worlds, having a combo set. Longer irons, a little bit more meat behind them, shorter irons, a little bit more feel. I think that makes most sense. And even cavity back sets try to stick with that, right? They incorporate that into their design. And so, I don't know the answer here, but I do know, at least for me, what makes the most sense from a feel perspective. And you hear people play golf. They're a feel player. I don't even know what that means. I don't know if people know what that means. If it's a matter of not being mechanical in your swing or whatever versus just going out and freewheeling it, I don't think that exists. I think we all have if you got a crappy swing, you're not going to score well. So I think everyone has to be mechanical to some degree. But if it boils down to picking the right tools for the trade, then why not pick the ones that make you, first of all, most confident, whether it be from past experience or just general preference. And maybe being honest with yourself and understanding where there's the most opportunity to improve. Where are your biggest risk points? That's why I think with fitting, and I think good fitters do this. I've had a couple, and I can say a couple fittings, and I don't think every fitter's done this, but I think it's really a risk assessment is what you need to do. Where is your biggest risk? It's not a matter of when you perform your best, and it's really not even a matter of when you perform poorly or your worst. It's somewhere in the middle. Mitigating the risk of a poor score, a poor swing. We're all going to make bad swings. Which clubs in which makeup is going to give you the best opportunity every single time you go out there from a consistency standpoint? And that's why I don't think it makes any sense for fitters to throw out bad shots. We all make bad swings. We can't throw out a bad shot when we're on the course. Many of us do. We might pick use a mulligan, whatever, if you're out having fun, which is perfectly fine, by the way, if that's what you want to do with your group. But when it comes to making a purchasing decision, or in my case, a playing decision, what do I want to put in my bag? I think it's a matter of just, reducing the risk while still maintaining something that provides confidence or instills confidence in my swing. I don't know. So when you go, if you're thinking about getting fit and you're thinking about, all right, well, what should I put in my bag? Think of it more of, what is going to give me the biggest opportunity to maintain consistency in a good way versus what's going to help me shoot my best score, because nobody knows how you're going to perform that day. But what you can do is at least limit the variance in the tools that you're using. Let me know what you think about that, folks. Go ahead and reach out to us via email, adam@golfunfiltered.com. You can go ahead and find us on social media as well, at Golf Unfiltered. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those places. We'll be back again next week, folks. We got a couple guests lined up. I know these last couple episodes, it's just been me and you chatting. But next week we've got Asher Golf is an upcoming, I think a lot of you know the name. We got them coming on. We got Matt Smart, I believe, is coming on to talk a little bit about their brand. And of course, if you guys have not heard of Fling Golf, it is a interesting take on growing the game as well as getting more people involved from a newbie standpoint. And it has nothing to do with actually hitting a golf club. So be sure to tune in for that in a couple weeks. So thanks as always for tuning in. Don't forget to go check out thehackersparadise.com and all the forums over there, as well as the other podcasts on the podcast network. Thanks as always for tuning in as well. Talk to you soon.